Welcome to this marvellous little side episode, while the rest of the party sit down and have a good chat with an old, shall we call her a druid? Let's call her a very old druid. Someone somewhat wisely decides that they would like to take a different path, not listening to the potentially heretic stories. So, here we go with a little side chat between Elrick and Corrobreth, and we'll begin outside the hut, that ramshackle pile of stone and wicker and bits of mud, and really it could be a better place to live. Grimy, but equally
It's natural.
and it's, for all it's grimy, clean. The life around this area is rich and verdant. We're in late spring, early summer at this point, and everything has reached full bloom. And Corrobreth is sitting on the outside as well. He's leaning down, rolling his shoulders as he says, "So, I wish you'd get away from here while they're doing their thing."
I don't want any chance of hearing whatever that story is. There was enough of a warning in it to... No, not for me.
If I do say so myself, you're the wisest of them.
I say it to them, but...
No. Look, there's a wisdom in listening too, because sometimes you have to make a choice. Sometimes you need to be in a position of intelligence. The wisest path is to have your friends that you trust know a thing. But then you have to be able to listen to them. And then will you trust them in the darker times when you're unsure? It's difficult to say.
Right. That's the thing. Will I trust all of them?
I'd never listen to that, but I trust my mother. Ma's all right. I've something to show you. And he pulls out a sickle. He says, "No, it's not this."
Right.
He says,
It's a fancy one, though. It's unlike... It is, because he would have seen people with sickles before,
yeah,
right?
it's marked around the entire length of the blade in old Belfani ruins. Runes, not ruins. Little stacked bits of collapsed
Oh,
building.
no.
Oh, I've ruined my sickle. No, and it's got a gold sheen along its entire length. Catch it in one light and it's almost like a blue steel. In another, it shines gold when caught in the light. As he goes, "It is that." He says, "Come on." And he starts hacking through the undergrowth. You'll have to be quick. It grows back fast.
Okay, he'll go as quick as he can, but why? Why would it grow back quick?
Look back, and you can already see the bits that have chopped beginning to slowly grow back into place.
Anything magical?
I think it's fair to say there's a lot of gyrin here.
Yeah.
An awful lot of gyrin, but there's something else going on. Do yourself a quick perception test. No. Yeah, there's definitely something going on here. He can sense the gyrin around him. The twist through to the new life is there, and it's budding forth and rippling as it goes from a white to a yellow to the deep green as it grows and quickly reforms into place as he hacks about him. We need to keep moving. If you don't keep moving, you get stuck.
No, it's fine. It's fine. He'll break a branch himself just to see, is it the sickle? Is it just in general?
Yeah, good. Break. It's tough to break. You're gonna need to pull out a blade of your own.
Okay, so it wouldn't just snap.
It's got so much. Yeah, it's so soft, and there's so much sap in it. It's almost like it's bleeding life as you cut it, and you can see almost immediately on the inside a small curl that grows out and then regrows the length of the stalk, then leaf, then wow.
Corrobreth, does it only grow to a point? Would it stop, or?
He says, "Well, you're smart, aren't you?" He says, "Oh, don't give me any of that." He says, "You remind me of my ma. She was always putting me down. You don't know nothing. You don't know. No.
I know enough to know I don't know a lot."
Well, that's wisdom. That makes you wise. You don't want to be like that father, for example. He's the sort that makes, well, I've heard him already. When he was around the village. He makes conclusions and he's got certainty. It comes with those who've got faith.
But it's got us to where we are.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Advising the Lord.
I'm saying it's different.
It's different, okay.
He may be smart, but he's not wise. You're wise. You might not be smart. That's to be found out, huh?
Yeah, I don't think I am smart.
Yes, but you're wise.
Hopefully, we'll see.
As he cuts his way through. We've got a bit of a walk ahead of us. That story will take about half bell. And indeed, it is a bit of a walk, as he takes you windingly through bits of forest and then down a cliff, which will take a climb test.
Yeah, 2 successes.
Perfect. The rocks of that are overgrown throughout, which is good because all of the life, the various plants, the flora that exists is exceedingly firm. Makes for wonderful handholds as you make your way down. And giving them a tug, barely anything. The roots are so deep, barely anything gives. It takes you down past a flowing stream, which is again full of life. It's not just all the little fishies and all the little tadpoles and frogs and spiders and insects flying around. It's the algae that's thick and blooming as well. There's flowers all along the edge. The entire area is alive. Also interestingly though, now you've been going for a good, it must feel like 5-10 minutes worth of time. Not a single bite.
I thought with channeling, it was a natural diversion to a lot of animals and insects.
Naturally, for some winds, yes, but life attracts it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you can't channel too much Gyron, sometimes insects will just come swarming to you, which is not great in high summer. You can try and throw...
midges. I am midge.
Totally. You can, though, channel the Gyron out, say, into a nearby log and fill it with Gyron. All the insects will float over to where that is. So you're not a natural magnet. You are someone that can channel the magnet. And if you're channeling, that means you are the magnet. If you're throwing it outwards, that becomes the animal magnet. What's fascinating, though, and something he will note, because he's quite used to having to occasionally channel out of himself because he's naturally attractive to insects. There's been not a bite, not even a crawl. They seem to avoid him entirely, as if he's not there. As you make your way down, he splashes his way across the stream. He says, I'm taking you somewhere. You might like to see this.
Have we got much further to go?
A little bit.
Right, okay.
He says, we're quite close. We're near the edge. But there's, you'll see when we get there.
Right. I'm imagining this is going to be worth it. Or the alternatives
Don't build it up now. He says, come.
Well, the things that I've seen on the road, you know.
Yeah, right. Here we go.
There's a high bar.
He shakes his head, looks back. You remind me of every other Grunfeld ever met. Every single last one of them. They're all a character in one way or another. Whether it's in your face, whether it's constantly cracking jokes or whatever it might be. And he bursts over the top of a ridge, climbs down a little bit, and then says, it's just along this here. You'll be able to see out over the... And there she is. And he walks over, and you can see down into a deep tree-filled basin. And it spreads out for miles, because you're above the canopy from where you currently are. Behind you is the creek, the gorge that you passed through and climbed out on the other side. And you can see off in the distance in the haze, a tall menhir, soaring twice as high as the trees themselves. And another one over there. And another one way over there. That's fascinating. You passed a couple of those already on the way in.
Yeah.
Not that surprising, but seeing the enormity of this. And he says, you might not be able to realize this, but this is a henge. He says, it's a great ditch all the way outside. It's a mixture of lakes and pools and gorges now. It's old. It's quite old. But that one there, and he points down right into the middle. That there, right in the middle, the bit you can't see. That's the middle.
Of the whole area.
Says, that it is. And he looks down at it. That's what it's all moving around. That.
And that's what people like you protect.
I protect this one.
Or maintain.
Mama, she wants me to protect it. She wants me to protect it. He looks a bit feezy at that and then looks back and then smiles. What's nicest here though? This passes you a leaf. Take a bite of that. Oh, pungent with flavour. It's clearly leaf. So you're nibbling on a leaf but it's full of life. The Gyren, you reckon you could probably sustain yourself in just eating this alone. There's so much life in it. But again, there's a odd aftertaste, and you're not quite sure what it is. I remember when I first did that.
Could I, like, anywhere here, the leaves are like this, or is this particularly this spot here? So if I had to grab as we were going through the brambles and just taking a leaf.
So, imagine this like a great whirlpool. And there are peaks in the waves and there's troughs. And it goes right down to the center. And at the edges and at the peaks, which we're on one just now, the life is high. You go down maybe 100 paces in, and down there, it's not as strong. It won't give you the same. But up here, it does.
Can I just try and channel Gyren to see how it feels?
Yeah, go for it. Do a channeling Gyren test.
4 successes.
About 16 successes.
Yeah. So
as it comes welling up, it flushes you. Your skin goes red. You feel tingles all around you. It causes a certain stiffness in certain areas. Good old life. Let's move on from that.
He's got a flowing robe. It's fine.
Totally. I mean, it's not you, Corrobreth. As you feel flush, alive, in a way that you haven't for some time. Indeed, it's not since you were...
Uber's Reik?
No. It's not since you were all the way back in Tal's Deep, just south of Talapime, the great crater, the eye of the forest. Talapime in the center. And about 20 miles south of that is Tal's Deep. Tal's Deep is one of the oldest sites for the Belfani. It's deep in a thicket. You have to go quite a circuitous route through the forest to eventually reach it. And it's where they often hold their solstices for high summer, high winter. And that was the high summer where it all went wrong. And there in Tal's Deep, Gyren is strong. The great spiral that's represented by the very symbol of Gyren. The spiral of life. And here it's almost like it's mapped out on the floor and you can see it. And there's, now that you're touched to it, you can almost see the great swirl of green. A massive vortex moving towards the very center. And he's reached the point now in his general awareness that there is almost certainly something that he knows is missing. Because he's seen things missing before. Another wind. And the fact that there's big gaps in the Gyren and the great swirl down towards the center suggests to him, at least,
something else, potentially.
Suggests to him, as I just do a quick slide test there, suggests to him, at least, that there are other winds at play and subordinate. Gyren is the primary wind here. And Gyren has been interlaced with other winds to do something. And it's focusing in towards the middle. From
a lore point of view, and I don't think I've asked this before, but is there that kind of relationship with winds? Are there dominant ones? Are there...
Yes, there is. Yeah. Each wind, there's the Wheel of Magic. The Wheel of Magic is ancient, really ancient. It's been codified and recodified by different people down through time. One of the many patriarchs of the orders claim to have created it. But the Wheel of Magic, in that each one of the symbols moving round, has been going for not just centuries, but millennia. And each one of the winds is dominant to the next wind along.
Okay.
But is that true?
Yeah.
And is also, there's a relationship directly across. But again, is that true? In practice, there's a great deal of dispute in the colleges. A great deal of dispute. For example, the Grey College in no way accepts that the Celestial College is anywhere close to being dominant over their wind. And there's demonstrations of this whenever the colleges of magic meet to do the Great Hall of Jewels to get themselves a new patriarch. If the bright wind was weaker than the Wex wind along, good old Gorman wouldn't be winning all the time. And indeed, Gorman somewhat famously said that he denied the proposal thus by smiting everything around him and showing how much more dominant he was than everyone else. Nevertheless, the Light College in particular and the Jade College, matriarchs and patriarchs of the Jade College in the past, have often fallen into their belief that this sliding dominance where there's never a top because each one's dominant to the next. So it's always going downhill, always causing the flow from the Great Gate to the north is somehow a reality. Here, it seems certain to you that the flow of Gyron, of jade magic, of life magic is enormous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been gathered.
Something else.
It's been gathered from outside the stones by the stones, and then channeled once inside, causing this. The great verdancy that stands inside the great circle. It's impressive, but all the more so now that you're looking carefully and seeing all of the life. Fascinatingly, though, you don't see any birds. Literally none. Nor do you hear any.
Had he, on the way up to the shack, had he heard anything? Like
he's not sure. I mean, he wasn't.
It's a background noise.
Yeah.
I think one thing though, first, when he has channeled in and he's absorbed all the Gyron, although you said there is some extra effects from that, there is probably a releasing of tension.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the first time where he can, or first time in a long time that he's able to just
channel it causes say the saps of life to rise, but that means more than just one thing. Your blood is pumping free, saliva is coming free to the mouth. Everything about you is just relaxing and loosening.
I think there's usually like a tension.
Yeah.
And it's just
you can, however, feel the danger. The danger of too much, overripe, bursting, causing a popping, life to grow too much. You can almost feel the tingle across your fingertips. There's life on you, and in a way that you normally are not aware of because you're far away from such heavy flows of Gyron. You become suddenly conscious of the fact that your body is full of life that's almost separate from you, and all of that life is currently swelling. Infections very likely could, if you continue channeling here, swarm upwards. Ooh.
Yeah, I think what you'll do is you'll try and end the channel and try and like disperse through touching the ground.
And it flows out of him freely. And that's where the true release hits. As it just, and it feels good. It's almost orgasmic as it passes out of you. That much of the life sped up, held, and then let loose.
So he's edging.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know how it was for you, Corrobreth.
Corrobreth looks at you and says, "Oh, gods.
You don't, no, but you don't understand. I can't do this around people that don't know. You know, like, it's tough."
Well, you are on Maven's business, aren't you?
Yeah, but I don't know. No matter which way I turn, it seems to have been seen, and there's other people telling me to do something, and then I say no, and then the next person goes, "Well, we knew you'd come to me anyway."
Well, first, I would suggest either giving up on your frustrations concerning Maven, because you'll never figure her out. Ever. She's twisting like a snake. She takes after her ma.
Who was her mother?
I met her once, and she was the worst. Just the worst. She was quite convinced that certain things had to happen to keep everything at peace, and she would do whatever was needed for that. Maven and her argue all the time, and she's probably dead now.
I was going to say, I don't remember ever being introduced to.
Oh, you won't have been.
The Kingmaker's mother.
No, she left the families.
Oh, right.
Oh, she didn't like them.
Where did she go?
Who knows?
North? No.
Don't know. I have no idea. I know I certainly don't.
But I understand. I know what you're saying, but it's not as easy to just let go.
No, and it won't be for you, because you've got actually burning inside you. It's going to make you petulant. It's going to make you angry. Let it happen. Let it work through your soul. The more you try to fight it, the more it's going to make you turn against your friends. Keep in your mind, you've got a rational mind that stands above it. It's like our fellows. They hide off in the forest and they do fuck all. And they sit there fucking each other all day, making more children. Trying to avoid coming into the colleges or doing any real business. Guarding over the stones, whichever grove that they need to guard over. Avoiding politics because they don't like it. Helping in the fields because they do like that. But they are not helping. They're not doing anything to help the empire as a whole. And this is their remit. I don't care. I'm outside it, but if I'd sworn an oath, I'd be following my oath. You've sworn an oath. They've sworn oaths. Half of those at the Grand Grove when you were there, when we met each other, half of them were druids. The other half, well, they were magisters. Oh, they might still claim the name druid, but they're magisters. They're supposed to be defending the empire on the front lines, which they avoid. It's the same for you. They forget that they've got minds that can override all of it. And they're also taking the easy route. You're taking the hard route.
I'm just trying to do what I think is right. That's what drives me. I don't want to do things, but it's the right thing. And that's why I found myself on this path.
So first thing to say to that is there is no right thing.
Well, there's...
Life lives and dies in great cycles. There is evil, supposedly. I don't believe in that. There is no evil. There's just different things and opinions and subjectivity. There's no real right and wrong. You might differ. You might, in your age, come up with a different way of viewing it all. For me, I've gone past it all. I've seen it all. When I attend the moots, it's mostly because I should. Look, Maven, I'll tell you here and I'll tell you now, we're far away from anyone. She has a plan. She has a plan and she's infiltrated the Grumfells. She's not a Grumfell by birth.
No, I'm pretty sure she is.
No.
She's one of the matriarchs.
She is not a Grumfell by birth. She likes to claim she is. She is not. Her children are Grumfells. She has chosen quite carefully from a host of different stocks. Further, she has found a way to impregnate women. She often wears the face of a man. An ancient artifact the Belthani used. You might not know this, but the Belthani used to be entirely ruled by women. Completely. And the women were also the sires.
No, I knew that they were...
Torques and rings. The men were supplementary in many respects. They were the fighters that they threw to the front. At least that's what I was told. But the Belthani, who's to say? It was thousands of years ago. It's tales that I'm told contradict each other all the time. I've heard so many different stories. But they had torques and they had rings. And they allowed them to walk as men when they themselves were women. And they ruled as women. They were considered to be changelings, hellspawn. They were driven out to the very periphery by those who came in afterwards, which, by the way, mostly came from the north, might I say.
Mm-hmm.
Tudegans. The Tudegans. Middenland's lot. Well, Middenheim's lot, I suppose, nowadays. They are a tribe from the north. They are not like the Norsey. The Norsey came from here, the Norse. They were driven north. The Tudegans came from the north. There's no prophecy amongst our kind that the fate of the world lies in what the Tudegans guard, because they brought it down with them from the north. A part of what lives up there came down with them. And that, they say, is the source of the flame in Middenheim. Not some great god doing anything at all. It was something they took with them from the north, and they placed it there on the great rock at the top.
So
they worship it.
This Ulric sacred flame, yeah?
That's the one.
But if that's not his relic, would he not be upset about it?
Well, who's to say that Elrick is what we think he is? Who's to say that anything is what they think they is? Everything lies. There is no subjectivity or objectivity about this. It's all to do with... If you listen to Mama, at one point there was no aether and there was no material realm. It was all just one big collapsed mess that was ruled over by an ancient race of scientists That's the word she used. Scientists. She learned that from the colleges when she was with them. And they split the realms up, and that you could walk from here to other worlds simply by moving forwards, and you would find yourself at a different place. She sat me down and she drew me pictures of different planets, and she said there's a planet called Vedra that was full of life. She claimed it was the source of Gyron. That's where Gyron comes from, she says to me. And it comes through all of these gates and came to this world. Each one of the planets had its own wind.
So, well, what happened?
The great catastrophe. The gates, the true gates that spanned out across everywhere, they blew up, destroyed everything, and with them came the ruinous powers. Some say the ruinous powers destroyed the gates. Some say the gates made the ruinous powers. I don't know. And they wished to see destruction of everything that was physical or something.
If everything was everything, then the ruinous powers were there all along, no? They were just present but coexisting.
And then one day they decided to rebel. Who can say? But the great mistake is thinking that they're somehow different. They're not. The great mistake is thinking that mutation is somehow not natural. It is. Everything that we are, everything that we become, is because of slow, gradual change. Look at your children. Look at your children's children. Not yours. But maybe yours. Who's to say you're not someone reborn? And if you are, who's to say that you're not your own great-great-great-grandfather or something?
I think Maven said that I wasn't someone reborn.
Wasn't? Well, I wouldn't listen to a word she says. Look, when it comes to her, what you've got to get into your head is that she is looking for an end. That is it. Just an end. So she will say whatever is required to get you there. I saw what happened, and I'll tell you now, what happened back there at Tal's Deep. She wanted that to happen.
I can believe it.
She wanted you to fall. She wanted you to make an error, to doubt yourself. She wanted you to go to the Bright College and get taught that. She wanted another Grumfeld in the colleges.
Aye, well, seemingly Ramrung wasn't doing the job well enough.
Well, I can't say one way or another who is doing what there. I don't really care. It's not my business.
Yeah.
But I will say that it's going to be a part of your life, no matter whether you want it to be or not. But don't waste your time on her.
I'm trying not to. I'm just trying to.
Oh, you're young. You're going to. Yeah. All I can do is offer advice. But that's not the advice. I didn't bring you here for that. I brought you here to simply say this. You've got life and fire running through you. Take some time to come to terms with that and stop trying to fight it. Let it just be for a while, and then look at yourself and use that important thing that you have that most of those others don't use, and that's your mind. Allow yourself to not just give in to the wind, make yourself stubborn. The frustration that is given from the bright wind and the jade is strong. Very, very strong. And we know the winds now. My mother, she taught me the winds. I don't agree with their philosophy, but I can talk to it.
Whose philosophy?
The colleges.
The colleges, oh yeah.
Their conceptual notion of this great differentiation of 8 winds of magic. This is not what we've taught. It's not what the families have taught, ever. We have never viewed it as the jade wind of magic. But it is easier to talk in such terms for yourself.
Well,
you were brought up thinking that, though, were you not? I can tell. You've not been brought up in the family ways.
No, I've been trained in Gyron from a young age.
So you were trained as a jade wizard. That's what you were trained as. And then they finished your training and threw you straight onto, or didn't finish your training, threw you straight onto the red.
Yeah.
See, they're setting you up for the college proper. They do not want you out here. Or maybe because of the stubbornness that you have, that's exactly what she wants for you. For you to rebel against your youthful training.
I've done everything I can to get out of the college, and I'm not going back anytime soon.
You're wrong.
Well, I hope I'm not.
That's the answer. The colleges have your soul. You owe them more money than is probably worth countenancing. For your training, how many years were you in there?
I was only trying to remember Elrick's story. It was like only a couple of years, wasn't he?
3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had that extra year at the end.
He stayed back himself.
Totally.
Yeah.
He pushed himself back. Well, you'll be looking at, I don't know, about 40. So that would be about 22,000 crowns, something like that.
2,000 or 22,000?
Oh, 2,000.
Yeah, I definitely
2,000.
don't have that money.
No. That's why you have to immediately seek employment. That's
why posh boy's rich though, so maybe.
Well, you get his family to start paying off your debts.
But surely that's not enough just to
it takes time.
Get away.
Most of your kind, as in right wizards, they die before they pay off their debts.
Aye.
The rich ones, they get out of all of this by just having their family pay their debts, and then they go and do what they want. But everyone else just joins frontline service because that's where you get your money. Or doing what you're doing, working in the service of a noble. You earn a fair bit of money doing that, but it'll take a long time to pay your debts.
Well, I don't have a contract. But...
Why not?
Yeah. We just never got around to it. I'm sure he's good for it.
They'll be finishing now. Says, I'm going to finish with this. Don't deny who you are. Let it rise. But as you're at your worst, which is going to be stubborn, mixed with a desire to just go with the flow, walk, move, get away. That is the way of the jade wind. And the bright wind will make you angry, stubborn, pride-filled, certain in your own convictions, and you will burn anything that gets in your path. As it hits its peak and you feel it all, just stop, use your mind, and try to look at the facts. Because if you don't, the wind will take you. Every time you give in to the wind, and you don't just go, right, everything in me says goes this way, but if I look at the facts, I should go this way. Keep that in your head. I've seen your kind before, those who are lost between two paths, and they often lose themselves.
I'm trying.
Well, it's only advice. Yeah. That's all I can give you.
Just out of curiosity, when I look here, what's missing? What is the Gyrin as I know it controlling? It's pushing something.
I don't know. It's going to the middle though. Right down there.
So you don't see any other winds?
I don't see the winds at all as you do.
Right.
You've been taught in a different way. You've been taught to focus. I've been taught to cast a wider net, but in doing so, can't see what you see.
So it's like those weird things in Altdorf where you look at it, but the less you look at it, the more you see. It's like, oh, it's a ship.
I avoid Altdorf, but I'll take your word now.
They have these pictures.
Just like that. I see something very different to what you do. My mother, she sees how you see.
She was trained.
She was, where I was trained by her in her ways. And then afterwards, she told me that she didn't even see anything that she'd been telling me was there, which I found a little bit annoying.
So then do you think that you see it, or are you just making it up?
I don't know.
Can you affect it?
I mean,
does it feel like you...
We need to make our way back, but let's keep talking. He says as he starts chopping his way back. He says, my mother raised me, mostly almost like, if I'm to take it from your ways as you look out into the wider empire, like a priest, that's how I should view myself. I'm deep down in the old faith, and I look after the mother, the ancient mother, that is the land, that is life, that is everything, in everything. The goddess. It's what I'm there to do. To advise the community about this place, for example. Why I'm down there in the community. I'm there to ensure they don't fuck up and damage anything. I'm mostly there like a barrier. Telling them when not to do things and when to do things. And if they're going to do something that annoys the goddess, I'm there to tell them. We do festivals to appease. It's not like out there where so many of them are worshipping. It's nothing to do with worshipping. We're not worshipping the mother. It's not like we expect the mother to give us anything. Mother just is. And of course she gives. And if you live within the ways of the mother, as he chops away, and you pay attention to the cycles of life, then you will live a grand time. It'll be a good life. But if you fight against that, if you struggle against the wash of the river or the beating of the sun, then you're going to have a hard time. In many respects, it's just about exactly that. Respect. I don't really understand other folk very well. I don't even understand you that well, because you know that, but you've been brought up by her, and she's clearly twisted you in one way or another.
She's had a plan, as you say, and I'm just a figure in that plan, I reckon.
She has a plan. And back down through the gorge, up the other side, it is, as you found, very easy to climb. Doesn't require another test. Up you go, chopping your way through until eventually you arrive yourself back at the cabin. And as he looks over it to it, he says, "Are we done in there? Yeah, you should probably return," he says.
Well, thank you for showing me, and thanks for the advice. I'll
take it on board. You're young.
I will.
Look, you're really young. Now remember what she said you were. Claiming you were the king.
Aye.
Claiming that you were the one that should be leading. And look at you now. You don't like leading. You're broken. You don't like making decisions. Look at your heart. You're constantly doubting everything that you see. You're constantly doubting who you are. She made that. And if you want to fight against it, feel free. But if you don't, again, feel free. But become who you are going to be one way or the other. It's up to you.
Yeah.
It's not up to her.
I make decisions. I decided to stay in the college to help people. I decided to leave and join this group to help people.
He smiles. Well, there we go. Was that her old training or your choice? What do you think?
It was my choice.
As my mother likes to say, I wouldn't exist without her. She might have a point.
Mm-hmm.
He says, as he slips away his sickle, bangs on the door. Right, we're back. And there, we bring that little side story to an end.